Citi Field in New York. The New York Mets play the Arizona Diamondbacks. Mets baseball on SNY, presented by New York 811. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by New York 811, who reminds you that today is August 11th, 811 Day. Be sure to call 811 before you start any digging project, big or small. Make the 811 call. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Cadillac, visit tristatecadillac.com for exceptional offers. By Fios by Verizon. Fios is not cable, we're wired differently. Visit getfios.com today. And by the New York Lottery, take a break from the expected, play scratch-off games from the New York Lottery. Hot, hazy, humid. Make sure you hydrate today when you come to the ballpark. Lots of kids around. It's camp day at Citi Field, and the kids and the Mets are ready to go. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Red Hot Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you today as the Mets wrap up a 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Things have not gone well for the Mets in the first 2 games in the series, and the Mets are now 10-15 since the All-Star break. Somebody asked Terry Collins last night if the tough loss last night would be hard to rebound from just 12 hours later, and Terry said, well, we've also had 7 other games in the last 2 weeks that we should have won, and that's really the pattern the Mets are in right now.
Well, they haven't played well since the All-Star break, and I'm not one to make excuses. They are a banged-up squad here. They have a lot of overloaded left-handed hitting on the lineup today. They have 7 guys in the lineup hitting left-handed against the right-hander for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They brought up some guys from AAA. It's a Band-Aid lineup. They're trying to tread water. And for all you folks out there that are kind of getting panicky, the one bright side to this is there's 49 games left in the season, and they're 2.5 games, only 2.5 games behind the wild card. One hot streak, and they can take off.
And the Mets will try and salvage the finale today with Noah Syndergaard on the mound. Syndergaard continues to pitch well, but unable to get deep in games lately because his pitch count's been so high.
Well, he hasn't been able to get the put-away pitch. He's 0-3 in his last 5 starts. He's pitched real struggling games where he's really had to battle. He's lost command of his slider. That's his put-away pitch. Therefore, the long counts, Gary. He needs to get the command of that slider back to be the dominant pitcher he was in the first half.
And the Diamondbacks will counter with rookie right-hander Braden Shipley making just his 4th Major League start.
Well, 2013 #1 draft pick for the Arizona Diamondbacks out of the University of Nevada, Reno. He is 1-1 on the year. This is his 4th start, just called up recently. His first start, he got shellacked. His last 2 starts have been very, very good. We'll keep an eye on him today.
So after a late extra inning loss last night, Mets trying to bounce back in an early day game on a hot day at Citi Field. Mets and D-backs, all the action coming your way on SNY. State Health Department. Talk with your doctor for help quitting smoking or call 1-866-NY-QUITS. By Tito's Handmade Vodka, America's original craft vodka. Visit us at titosvodka.com. And by the State Farm agent of the game, Pat Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcawley.com. Get to Citi Field Saturday. Watch the Mets take on the Padres at 7:10. Plus, stay after the game as Styx performs as part of the Mets post-game concert series presented by Budweiser. Admission to the concert is included in the price of the game ticket. For tickets, visit Mets.com/concerts. Your Mets Power Pitchers of the Week brought to you by East Coast Power and Gas. Noah Syndergaard still striking people out at a prodigious rate. 5th in the National League in strikeouts and 5th in strikeouts per 9 innings. Also 6th in fewest walks per 9 innings. He has been a strikeout to walk phenomenon. It's the Mets and the Diamondbacks as Syndergaard makes the start. His first pitch is coming right up from Citi Field. Down for this noontime start.
Well, he won't get sunburn on his neck today, that's for sure. He's very fair. He's Scandian.
I'm sure he uses sunblock. Makes sure that he's properly hydrated. All the precautions on a bright sunny day. There's the Diamondbacks starting lineup. Gene Segura having a terrific year. Just one hit behind Daniel Murphy for the National League lead in base hits. Chris Owens has had a good series. So has Paul Goldschmidt. It's a task for Syndergaard this afternoon. And the Land Rover numbers on the starting pitcher, Noah Syndergaard, as we said in the open, 5 starts without a W. 0-3 over those 5 starts, but not pitching poorly. His walks to innings pitched are fantastic. His strikeouts, he's, like I said, he's just lost a little command of that put-away pitch, that slider. Needs to find the range. Gene Segura getting set to lead off for the Diamondbacks. And we'll take a look at the Metsy Lexus defense. Your lovable Metsies. Diaz in center field. Bruce, of course, in right. Conforto in the lineup with the right-hander on the mound. Kelly Johnson, big pinch hit home run last night. He's earned a spot on at third base. Loney is back in the lineup
Rivera catching Syndergaard, which is kind of what's been going on now for quite a bit. They like to work together.
Well, the hope is that Rivera will also try and cut down on the running game, which has seen the Diamondbacks steal 9 bases in the first 2 games of the series. And today you've got Syndergaard on the mound, who's been more vulnerable to the stolen base than any pitcher in the major leagues this year.
It has been stunning what has happened in the first 2 games of this series, Gary, and it's been a contributor to the Mets' 2 losses in this series as a beleaguered manager, Terry Collins, with injured troops, trying to scratch together a lineup here that can get 1 game out of this series.
Well, the Diamondbacks already have as many stolen bases as they've ever had in a 3-game series, and they've done it in the first 2 games.
Well, here they are, and that's one of the closer plays right there. And that's one of the least closest plays. They have been stealing and stealing easily, and it's got to stop.
Darnell was able to throw out 1 runner at second base yesterday. There was also a caught stealing on a run down between third and home. Gene Segura leads off, and Syndergaard's first pitch swung and missed, and we're underway. Segura 4 for 10 in this series, couple of doubles. He has 3 of the stolen bases for the Diamondbacks as well. He's done a great job recently, Segura has, getting on base to start games. He's done it twice in this series. 11 of his last 16 first inning at bats he's led off by getting on base.
Well, there's the velocity. That's one thing that Noah hasn't lost. 99-mile-per-hour fastball right there. But this is the big leagues. Guys get paid to hit the fastball. They don't get here if they can't hit a fastball. You've got to have a secondary pitch to go with it. And we know that Syndergaard has a terrific arsenal, particularly his changeup, his slider. He's just been throwing that slider in the dirt, Gary, where it's not even there to get a free strike, where the guys swing at the ball in the dirt. It's just way out of the strike zone. He needs to find that range again. There you go.
He strikes out Segura to start the day.
Well, this is the one here. See it, not in the dirt. Starts out as a strike and breaks out of the strike zone. When you're throwing 99 miles per hour, it's not a whole lot of time you got to think. You see him get on top, get the downward tilt. That ball starts above the knees, Gare, and breaks down in the ankles. It's tough to lay off.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Michael Bourne is 3 for 10 in this series. Had the big hit in the opening game Tuesday night. Well, the other piece for Syndergaard, and we've seen this a lot lately, and we saw it in that first at bat with Segura, who fouled off a couple of pitches. The foul ball totals have been enormous against Noah his last few starts, which has helped build up his pitch count.
Well, you know, when you got a power pitcher like Syndergaard, now he's been around the league. They know, okay, Syndergaard's coming up pitching today. I'm going to have to be a little more set. I can't swing from my shoelaces. I'm going to have to be more compact. Be a tougher out.
Fires a strike in 98 to Bourne. Just to document the foul balls, Noah's given up 25 foul balls or more each of the last 3 starts. He had only done it in 3 other games in his career before the last 3 starts. So it's been something that's grown. Lined into center field, and Bourne has a base hit.
Bourne's had himself a nice series. Now it gets dicey here. We got Bourne on base. He's stolen the base in this series. And we'll see 2 bases, excuse me. So Noah's going to have to throw over and mix up his, when he comes to his belt, don't create a pattern. Mix up the timing of it. Try to foul up Bourne's attempt to get a good jump. I mean, that's baseball 101.
Well, the Diamondbacks have been running early and often, so we'll see whether Bourne goes early in the count to Goldschmidt, who's had a terrific series. Goldschmidt 4 for 8, a double, a homer, 4 RBIs in the first 2 games. Michael Bourne, a 3-time National League stolen base champ, 336 stolen bases in his career. Well, Syndergaard's given up more stolen bases than any pitcher in baseball, and the Mets have now given up more stolen bases than any team in baseball. Not a huge lead for Bourne. and not going. And Goldschmidt fouls off the first pitch fastball. Goldschmidt has been attacking first pitch fastball every at bat.
Yes, he has, particularly in RBI situations. He's having himself a nice series. Hit a home run in the first game of the series. Had 2 hits in that game with 2 RBIs. Last night he drove in 2 runs with a base hit and a sacrifice fly. It's the reason why he's one of the top hitters, top RBI guys in the National League.
In fact, around a lifetime .397 on base percentage, one of the best hitters in the game. And a pitch out, something the Mets rarely do.
Yes.
Rivera snap throw to first, and Bourne just gets back in.
Well, it's good. And a little pitch out right there. Good call. That is another option.
Why do you think we see so many fewer pitch outs in the game today than we used to?
But I don't know what the numbers are, but it just seems to me that stolen bases aren't as prevalent.
Well, that's certainly true.
And you know, back in the 80s when everybody was running, and it really had to. Pitchers had double duty. They came up knowing how to hold runners on.
I mean, that was back in a day when you'd had guys stealing 70 or 80 bases in a season. That animal doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
Now a 30 stolen base season is huge. Fastball just off the plate. 2-1 to Goldschmidt. Jake Lamb, the cleanup hitter, waiting on deck.
Now, even though Bourne hasn't tried to attempt to steal yet, he saw him take a quick break. It was good camera work right there with Syndergaard from the belt, and he feigned a stolen base, trying to distract Noah, because you can see out of the corner of his eye.
And Goldschmidt goes after the fastball away, and now it's 2-2.
What you're also doing here, a good fastball outside corner, is that you're disrupting the rhythm of a pitcher. When you get men on base, the pitcher wants to pitch at his own pace. You're not allowing him to do that, and they have to learn. These young pitchers for the Mets have to learn how to do this.
2-2 coming, and the breaking ball lined into right center for a base hit. Bourne will go first to third, cut off deep by Bruce. Goldschmidt trying for 2. The throw by Bruce, but it skips away from Reynolds, and Goldschmidt is safe. It looked like Bruce's throw was going to get there in plenty of time, but it short-hopped Reynolds, and that cost the Mets a play at second base.
Well, beautiful hitting by Goldschmidt on the hanging curveball. The throw here is a short hop. It's a rainbow. You got to hit straight line, hit the cutoff man. Good hustle by Goldschmidt here. That was a little bit of a risk. It was an automatic first to third, and he turns it on here. He's had his coffee this morning.
Well, talk to me about Reynolds' positioning there. He's standing 4 feet away from the bag. Shouldn't he be at the bag to try and collect that throw?
He's got to be on line to make the catch. Was he in front? And it's a short hop. I'd like to see it again, Gary. I missed that. I'm the analyst. I'm not supposed to miss those things.
it's early, kid. Second and third and 1 out, and Jake Lamb takes a strike.
Number 1, it's a rainbow throw, and it misses the initial cutoff man, and it gives Reynolds. He's got to come off the bag here to get the catch. The throw is offline, so it's no fault of his.
Lamb's had himself a miserable series so far. 0 for 9 with 6 strikeouts, and Syndergaard makes him move his feet. Ball and a strike. Now Syndergaard in immediate trouble. Single by Bourne, double by Goldschmidt. Lamb having a breakout season, but Mets have held him in check so far. Infield back, they'll concede a run on a ground ball.
Nice block. The Arizona Diamondbacks in their battleship gray road uniforms. Could put them out in the Coral Sea. You never see them at night.
There's got to be some advantage to that. Can't really think about what it is from a baseball perspective. 2-1 coming to Lamb, and he pops it up. Kelly Johnson having trouble with the sun, now finds it, and that's the second out. A big one for Syndergaard. That pins the runners at second and third. Now they're 2 out.
And that's another thing, Gary, that I did not mention thus far in this game here is that Syndergaard's got to throw more inside, particularly to the right-handers. There he came inside on Lamb and tied him up. But particularly against the right-handers, he's got to come in more. It's going to open up that outside corner for him.
So now a chance to get through the inning facing Chris Owings, who is 3 for 9 in the series. All 3 hits have gone to right center, and the Mets trying to close down that gap against Owings. And he takes a curveball for a strike.
Well, Owings has been moved up in the pecking order. He's been moved to the 5th spot. He's been having a nice series, but he has been going to right center field, and the outfield positioning is adjusted appropriately. With Granderson over in right center, you can see. Diaz, excuse me, Granderson's got the day off.
And a good curveball there. So Syndergaard gets ahead with a couple of hooks, and it's 0-2.
See, that's a lot better, even though he can still elevate a little bit. But it's a tantalizing pitch with that kind of velocity on the break.
Bourne at third, Goldschmidt at second with 2 down. 0-2 coming to Owings. Goes right back to the curveball, and Rivera knocks that ball down. 1-2.
Even the infield defense, Gary, on the right side. Look at Walker. Walker the whole series was situated up the middle more off Owings. Now he's playing pretty much straight up, taking that hole away from him.
Well, Owings has certainly shown that his approach is to go to right field. Syndergaard already 20 pitches deep in this first inning. 1-2 coming, and he struck him out with a slider. Syndergaard works around first inning trouble. A couple of strikeouts get him through. That's come to bat at the bottom of the first. No score. Off spot. They'll try and get the Mets started this afternoon. There's the Mets starting lineup. Neil Walker moved up to the 2-hole. Lineup brought to you by Geico. Kelly Johnson hitting right behind James Loney. So the Mets have 4 straight left-hand hitters. Yep. Bruce, Loney, Johnson, Conforto in that 3 through 6.
7 left-hand hitters in the lineup. They'll be hitting left-handed against the starting pitcher Braden Shipley, #1 draft pick, 4th start. Reason why? Left-hand hitters in his first 3 starts are hitting .303 against him. Right-hand hitters only .219.
A lot of walks early in Shipley's big league career. That was never a problem for him in the minor leagues, so maybe just a case of nerves early in his career. Diaz's batting average back below 200. He's at 199. And Shipley bounces his first pitch of the day.
Fastball, curveball, changeup. Was a shortstop at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I guess he's converted. He probably has a strong arm.
Much like Jacob deGrom got converted during his college career from shortstop to the mound, and he's a terrific fielder.
There's a changeup. Good sinking change.
Braden Shipley, 24 years old. He was the 15th overall pick in the 2013 draft, coming out of the University of Nevada. Stroke toward the middle of the diamond. Owings to his left. And he throws out De Aza by a stride, one away.
The Diamondback defense. That's Coors Light up in the upper left-hand corner. Drury in left field. Socrates, I love that name. Brito in right. The veteran Bourne in center. Two-time Gold Glover All-Star, tremendous hitter Paul Goldschmidt at first base. Tuffy Gosowicz behind the plate.
Here's Neil Walker, who had another 2-hit game last night. Neil's been on a tremendous run last 14 games, hitting .483. He's 5 for 9 in this series.
It's funny how the Mets were hitting the ball and scoring runs on the road here. They've come home, and I know it's only a small portion. It's 2 games, but they haven't hit.
Well, the Mets, we mentioned, are 10-15 since the All-Star break, 3-11 at Citi Field since the All-Star break, and that just can't stand if they want to have any chance of competing for a postseason berth.
Well, they're 1 over 500 in their overall record and 1 over 500 at home.
As opposed to the Diamondbacks, who startlingly are over 500 now on the road, 20 games under 500 at home.
I'm telling you, I can only speak for myself. I always felt more pressure at home in front of the home fans than on the road. I loved playing on the road. I love playing in front of the Met fans. Don't take it the wrong way. Don't start tweeting.
So you're saying you felt the pressure of pleasing the home fans?
It was, if I had to get up in the bottom of the 9th and go down a run, bases loaded, 2 outs, it was more pressure packed in New York as opposed to any other ballpark.
That's because you don't come up in the bottom of the 9th on the road.
Oh, that's right. Jeez. Another hit.
Walker's got another base hit. Moore comes over to play it, and Walker continues to rake. He's now got a 9-game hitting streak.
This is just raging hot, and they continue to pitch him away. And Neil was out in front like all slumps and looking just so terrible at the plate. Such a prolonged slump. I bet you it was one of his longest slumps of his career. And boy, when you break out, was he over 500, right? 15 games now?
He's just over 500 now, or just under 500. 29 for 59 over the last 15 games. Here's Jay Bruce, 2 for 8 so far in this series, and they put on the full shift against Jay, leaving the left side free.
So that's a fastball right there. That wasn't a change. That's 89 miles an hour. So the book here says he throws 94. I'm not seeing it.
He's averaged 90.6 on his fastball through his first 3 starts.
So he's a sinker ball pitcher. That's fine. Good curve. You know, it's too much emphasis on today's evaluators, the guys that are upstairs evaluating talent, that they got to throw 97, 98. Hey, the guys that throw 88, 89, they can win too.
Shipley started the year in AAA, made 19 starts for Reno, and he was up and down in AAA. That's pulled and caught by Goldschmidt for the double play. That ends the inning. A bullet off the bat of Bruce. Goldschmidt right at the bag, and perfectly placed for the unassisted double play that gets Shipley through the first inning.
Ripped. Hang with them.
After 1, no score. Noah Syndergaard facing Brandon Drury. Drury getting the start in left field today. Yasmani Tomas has missed the entire series with a stiff neck. Diamondbacks also announced that David Peralta, who was a mainstay for them last year, is going to have wrist surgery and be out for the rest of the year. Kelly Johnson handles the ground ball. They've had A.J. Pollock out of the lineup all year, so they're basically missing an entire outfield. They've missed their starting catcher. Wellington Castillo has been out the whole series on paternity leave, and yet they've won the first 2 games. Greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. The Cubs have won 9 straight after beating the Angels yesterday 3-1, but they might have lost Pedro Strop, their setup man, to a knee injury. Jason Worth on base 40 straight games at a 3-run homer yesterday for the Nationals in their 7-4 win over the Indians. And Jay Happ now 16-3.
Wow. How's that happen? No pun intended.
Very nice. I think what's more impressive is that Jay Happ has an ERA under 3 pitching in that great hitters ballpark in Toronto. Syndergaard ahead on Socrates. Brito 0-2. And Brito hits a tapper. Right back to Noah. 2 out. Well, the Blue Jays, with their shutout victory over Tampa Bay yesterday, took a 1-game lead over Baltimore. The Orioles got shut out by Ross Detweiler. 1-0 out in Oakland. Red Sox 2.5 off the pace after losing to the Yankees last night.
I kind of a little partial towards the Blue Jays. I think they got the best club in that division. I think they're going to win the division. Gary, what do you think?
There's Tuffy Gosewich. You know, they're facing a dilemma because their best pitcher this year, Happ's record notwithstanding, has been Aaron Sanchez. And Sanchez is hitting an innings limit, which is going to force them to move him to the bullpen. And then the question becomes, do they have enough starting pitching to get to the finish line?
Yeah, and it's a dead heat at this point of the season. What do you got? 7 weeks left in the season. It's scoreboard watching time, and pick up the morning paper, the sport page, and look at the standings.
Gosewich fouls it back. I'll tell you what would also help the Blue Jays' cause if Troy Tulowitzki keeps hitting like he has recently. Last night a home run and 5 RBIs. He's been very underwhelming since getting to Toronto, but a healthy, productive Tulowitzki is an enormous benefit for that team. Gosewich making his 12th start of the year for the Diamondbacks, and he drives one to left center field, cutting across De Aza, and he gets there to retire the side. 1-2-3 for Syndergaard in the second. No score at Citi Field. For Free Shirt Friday, the Mets play the Padres at 7:10. All fans in attendance will receive a Jerry's Familia t-shirt courtesy of McDonald's. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Fridays. And if you'd like to know what the t-shirt looks like, well, here it is. It's got Jerry's Familia's name. It says 100.5 miles per hour.
I want one.
Well, you'll here. That's yours. I'll get my own. James Loney going with a new look today, with the stirrups and the white sanitary socks.
I do like it.
Well, he'd been going with the orange sanitary socks, which was an offbeat look.
That looked terrible.
This is a more traditional feel for the day game. Hitters
are superstitious. Find that right mix. It's got hits in it.
Loney's 0 for his last 9, so that might have been why he.
That's right. See, I always used to do this. I used to have a hole in St. Louis. I had a hole in the white stripe of one of my socks. This little hole in the size of a dime, maybe a little nickel. And I would start the season. True story.
Loney lifts one to left, and Drury's right there.
I would start every season, and I'd put it on.
Now, where was the hole? At what point?
The hole was on the outside calf with this white stripe on the outside calf. So I would put it on my left leg or whatever, right leg, and I go back and forth. And the first hot streak I got into, whatever leg it was on, it never left the rest of the season. Had hits in it.
Really?
Yes. Yes. True story.
I never thought of you as a particularly superstitious
I
guy.
am to a degree. I never like to step over lines on the chalk, going out to first base. We were on the road on the third base dugout because we were first base dugout at St. Louis in New York, Old Shea. But on the road, I would always jump over the third base line.
Jump over like Ollie?
No. Much more graceful. Very subtle.
You're nothing if not subtle.
Stupid things like that.
Kelly Johnson had the big pinch hit home run in the 9th inning that tied the game for the Mets last night. It was interesting listening to the comments from Kelly and from Terry Collins and from a number of the other Mets who all said once Johnson hit the home run, we thought for sure we were going to win the game. And it just didn't work out that way.
Yep. Well, they couldn't get another run.
They twice got runners in scoring position, both in that 9th inning and again in the 10th. But could not bring a run home, and eventually Oscar Hernandez's first big league home run beat the Mets in the 12th inning. Two and two to Johnson, and Kelly strikes out on the fastball. First strikeout of the day for Braden Shipley.
Just a fastball. He wanted it in, and he gets it away with a lot of plate. Really down the middle, swung right through it. Kelly's a low ball hitter, and I tell you what, he's a very dangerous hitter. Excuse me. A very dangerous hitter, as you noted last night. That was a tremendous blast. That was 3/4 of the way up the upper tank out there.
There's Michael Conforto, 0 for 4 in this series. Michael got just one at bat late last night, struck out in the 12th inning against Randall Delgado.
Very curious to see when the season ends if they're going to send Conforto to winter ball to get some at bats down there. It's a good quality league down there.
Well, are they better off doing that, or are they better off sending him to instructional league to learn how to play first base?
You can do both, right? Send him down there to play first base. Just tell that team, give him a little extra bucks and say he's playing first base.
Would you rather put him in that environment to learn, or would you rather send him to a place where he can get more intense coaching?
Well, it depends who the manager is. If you've got a qualified first baseman instructor, I mean, there's plenty out there you can pay. Strike three, good backdoor curve.
So Shipley with back-to-back strikeouts. He has himself a 1-2-3 second. No score as we go to the third. With the MLB.com at Bat app, which includes game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Lots of youngsters in the crowd today. Perfect day. Bring the kids. All the camp groups are here. Noah Syndergaard back to the mound for the 3rd inning to face the opposing pitcher Braden Shipley, who's 1 for 7 in his brief big league career.
Well, the former shortstop, so he's probably swings a pretty good bat.
Although a lot of times position players who become pitchers because they can't hit.
Yeah, but they still have an idea, because there are some pitchers that have no idea. And then there's some hitters that have no idea.
You know, I made mention of Terry Collins' comment this morning during our open today. Somebody brought up to him the game last night, a game that certainly Terry thought the Mets should have won, and bouncing back 12 hours later to play a day game to try and salvage this final game of the series. And Terry's response was, he said, we've had 7 other instances of games we should have won in the last 2 weeks. And I went back and looked. The Mets over the last 2 weeks have lost 7 consecutive games that were decided by 1 run. Early in the season, the Mets were a terrific team in 1-run games. Before this latest stretch, they were 19-11 in games decided by 1 run. But now they've lost 7 straight decided by 1 run. And any time you lose by 1 run, you feel as though it's a game you should have, or at least could have, won. So he wasn't making it up. Shipley takes strike 3 call. 3rd strikeout for Syndergaard.
Very promising beginning to Syndergaard's start, Gare. This is a good slider. That's the one we're used to seeing.
He had a rough 1st inning, gave up a single and a double, but got 2 big outs to strand the runners in scoring position. And now he's retired 6 in a row.
You know, Gary, again though, and I'm not sitting up here being a homer. They've got so many guys out of the lineup, and that's could be the difference. You've got a professional bat at Cabrera out of the lineup, Reyes, Cespedes, big, huge. So the runs, you got to scratch them out, and this is not a team that knows how to manufacture runs.
No, they'll get those guys back. Reyes should be the first. Jose is starting a rehab assignment for the Brooklyn Cyclones tonight. Terry said today he wasn't sure how long it would take Reyes to get back to the big league level. The problem with Reyes is the intercostal, which hurts him when he swings right-handed. So the question is going to be whether he gets any right-handed at bats, whether he faces any lefties on his rehab stint, and how quickly that happens. They don't want to rush him. Segura chases a slider, a good one by Syndergaard, 2-2. So Reyes should be the first back, and if he comes back before Cabrera, which he should, he probably goes right to play shortstop.
Yes, I think he can still play short.
Which will certainly be an upgrade offensively, because Reynolds has struggled so badly with the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Where chases the slider, and Syndergaard has thrown 3 or 4 really good ones in this 3rd inning. It's 4th strikeout.
Listen, this is a learning year for Noah. Mats. You know, this is their 2nd full season, and it just not that easy. And pitchers hit slumps like hitters, and you learn when you fight through these hard times. Like, what did I do? Why couldn't I get my slider? Why was I throwing it in the dirt? Why am I throwing it now like I had before? And that's how you build on your career and become consistent and put seasons together like Kershaw, Bumgarner, and being contemporary here.
Good job.
Thank you. Seaver, Gibson.
Well,
couldn't help it.
It couldn't last. Gordon takes 99 on the black for a strike, 1-1.
You get my drift, though,
yes,
right?
I do. You want to be that guy who is reliable year after year.
That's right. Greatness is not 1 or 2 years. Greatness is when you look at the roster and you're going to go, okay, we're going to get 15 out of him. We're going to get 18 out of him, and you can book it. That's greatness. Consistency.
1-2 to Michael Bourne. He fouls it away.
I didn't say 20 because the way the game is today.
20 is hard.
It's hard to win 20 today with the way the pitchers are taken out of games. I've always been partial to a starting pitcher who's busting his tail out there, pitching a 1-1 game or losing 1-0. Let him stay in the game, the chance that you can get him a win.
Bourne lines one into right field, and he's got his second hit of the day. So Michael Bourne, a twice released player this year, having a terrific series for the Diamondbacks. That's his 5th hit in 12 at bats.
Breaking ball too much in the middle, and that's what you got to be careful against the left-handers. You do not want to leave it out over the plate, full extension, and he lost his grip on that bat, didn't he? Lost his top hand.
So that gets Goldschmidt to the plate with a man on. Bourne did not attempt to steal in the first inning with Goldschmidt at the plate. See if he does here. Longer hold by Syndergaard.
Yes.
And he throws the fastball by Goldschmidt, and that's one of the things that he needs to do.
Yes, and be comfortable doing it. Now it's learning on the job, and that's tough.
I mean, that just gets the base runner flat-footed.
That's right, and you're going to have to learn to do that and not let it affect your rhythm. And the only way you're going to do it is by going out there and experiencing it. Like you and your open scare, you're so relaxed and natural. It becomes second nature.
I could teach you. Syndergaard popping that fastball at 98, and he gets a hit on Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt lined one to right center for a 2-base hit his first time up. His 3rd extra base hit in the series. Bourne figures to run here on 0-2. Even if he gets caught, it saves Goldschmidt a fresh at bat.
You could pitch out. I don't think he's going.
And he's not. 1-2 to Goldschmidt.
You know why? It's your hot hitter. He's got, what, 18 home runs. He might just throw a hanging breaking ball.
Your Porsche leaderboard, Paul Goldschmidt, 3rd in the National League in on-base percentage. That's where he usually sits. Lifetime .397 on-base percentage. 2-time National League MVP runner-up. When you haven't got a fully developed pickoff move, is it still necessary to throw to first base?
Yes. You've got to throw over, but most importantly, I think, is changing your rhythm when you break from the belt home.
Again, a longer hold, and Goldschmidt drives one to center field. De Aza cutting across. He'll have to play it on the hop. Bourne goes first to third, and the Diamondbacks have runners at the corners. Goldschmidt 2 for 2, both his hits coming with 2 strikes.
He is a hitter. I have not. One of the things I don't like about the 3 divisions is we can't see these guys. It's a high fastball out over the plate with 2 strikes. Nice hitting. Mistake. But I would love to be able to see these guys more than just 3 there and 3 home, and get a better assessment to judge these players. It's more difficult.
Now here's Lamb, who had himself another chance in the first inning, but popped up with runners at second and third.
You know what I would like, and I can't take credit for this, is the producer, Greg Picker, was just in my ear. I like the fact that you're playing 3 here, then the next week you're playing 3 in Arizona, because you get a feel for the team. As opposed, I play them in April, then you play them in September or August.
Yeah, I think that has upsides and downsides. You know, like with San Diego, right? The Mets played San Diego early in the season. They're going to play them this week. They've got an entirely different team.
Exactly.
Now, if, for instance, the Mets are playing Arizona without their #1 catcher, without their right fielder, if you played them at a different time of year, you know, maybe they show a little different look. You know what I mean? You're
I understand.
All in one portion of the season. When 0-2 to Lamb.
Boy, Lamb has just really been struggling.
Road ahead presented by GMC. Padres are in for 3 starting tomorrow night. Then the Mets go to Arizona, San Francisco, and St. Louis.
These are all biggies.
10-game road trip starting on Monday in the desert.
Well, you know, with the two division schedule when I played, Gary, you always went to the West Coast and they came to you. And then you went to the eastern portion, which was Atlanta, Cincinnati, Houston. You went on the road trip there and they came to you. I'd like it that way.
0-2 to Lamb. And he pops it up again.
Wow.
Kelly Johnson waiting for it. Seconded back for Lamb. Same result. And Syndergaard gets out of trouble again. Well, Lamb's just having a miserable time of it. 0 for 11 now in the series. That keeps things scoreless. Right in the park.
Very nice.
We go to the bottom of the 3rd at Citi Field. Some late arrivals. Come on, get your seats. A lot of baseball still to be played.
Well, they just showed the cutest little girl on the scoreboard. She had jet blonde hair, like wrestling blonde, and her face was beet red. She was such a cutie.
Did you say wrestling blonde?
Right, like, you know, like Ric Flair.
Oh,
blonde.
okay, that kind of wrestling. Gotcha. Rene Rivera hits the comebacker. Shipley runs halfway and makes the toss for the first out. So it takes just one pitch to retire Rivera. Now one of 2 Riveras for the Mets.
That's right.
TJ made his debut last night, got his first big league hit in the 10th inning. Here's Matt Reynolds. Reynolds 1 for 5 in this series.
Got a base hit last night. He broke a an 0 for 14? Something like that. He was really struggling. He struggled on the road in Detroit.
Well, the biggest problem for Matt right now is he's just striking out too much. But getting a chance to play with some regularity, and he's handled shortstop well. Shipley's 1-1, and he misses with the sinker. 2-1. Braden Shipley, 15th overall pick in the 2013 draft. There have been only 3 players that were chosen before him who've made their big league debut to date. One is Chris Bryant, who was the 2nd overall pick in that draft.
John Gray was the 3rd pick, pitches for the Rockies. And Colin Moran was the 6th pick. The Marlins took him. He made his debut for the Astros this year. But that's it as far as the guys picked ahead of Shipley in that 2013 draft. And now Shipley making his 4th big league start. Reynolds hits it sharply, but eats up Owings and goes into the outfield.
Well, Owings didn't really stay squared up here. I know it's a tough hop. It was a great camera angle. You saw the ball off the bat. Kind of olays it. That's an olay. You got to stay in front. It took a bad hop, but you can't olay it. You got to get it off the chest. Watch it. Get the cape out. There you go.
Keith, you see so few bad hops on the infield anymore in baseball. That used to be a routine occurrence. These days, all these infields are so well manicured, you almost never see that.
Agreed. And I always think of the worst bad hop in World Series history, at least televised World Series history, was the World Series, the Yankees and the Pirates, on the bad hop into Tony Kubek's throat.
Right. It was late in Game 7.
Is that 60?
1960, yep. Syndergaard showing bunt.
When you talk about infields and 1982 World Series, when I was with the Cardinals and against the Brewers, that infield in Milwaukee was horrendous. I didn't want to take too many ground balls. It would be pre-game. Is it bad hops?
Reynolds a little shaken up, getting down to the bag at first base.
What did he put a little Art Carney there? Tom Goodwin.
He was trying to demonstrate what had happened to Matt, but Matt appears to be okay. Syndergaard is going to take a swing and swings over the sinker. 0-1. Ooh, just landed hard. After taking a swing, Syndergaard back to bunting and takes a curveball for a strike. And now it's 0-2.
So Shipley has a decent curveball, not overpowering. He's a guy that's going to have to be good with his command, make his pitches, stay in the corners, keep the ball down. A typical sinker, curve, changeup pitcher.
In the minor leagues, he had tremendous control. This year, just 1.7 walks per 9 innings. He's struggled a little with that at the big league level. And Syndergaard strikes out, so unable to get a bunt down, and that's the 2nd out.
Oh, there's another lack of execution here. When a club's playing poorly, they don't get the little things done.
You can win VIP tickets to Jets training camp at Florham Park. Don't miss your chance to get front row seats to all the competition and position battles. Just follow @SNY on Twitter. Retweet our tweet about the Jets training camp sweepstakes, and you'll be entered to win. So 2 out. Reynolds still at first, and now De Aza for the 2nd time. Alejandro grounded out to short to open the game. By the way, they gave Reynolds credit for a base hit on that bad hop off the chest of Owings. Curveball in for a strike to De Aza. So the Mets have their 2nd hit of the game. Last night the Mets were held to just 6 hits in 12 innings in their 3-2 loss. Night before, 6 hits in 9 innings in their 5-3 loss. And so it goes. That's pulled down the right field line, but foul. You know what's interesting to me? I was looking at some numbers today. We talk all the time about the Mets offense and how odd it's been this year. They hit a lot of home runs, but don't hit with runners in scoring position. Nice truck. There are other things they don't do too. They have very little team speed, which doesn't only manifest itself in terms of stolen bases, but they also have the fewest infield hits by far of any team in the league. And they have the fewest productive outs of any team in the league. So it's really been a lot of different things that have contributed to the fact this team doesn't score except when they hit home runs. De Aza strikes out to end the inning. 4th strikeout for Shipley. And the Mets are done in the bottom of the 3rd. Still no score. Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
That's slow-mo. Sweet.
Dragonfly.
Don't you wish you could fly, Gare? It'd be fun.
I dream of flying. Do you?
Chris Owings smacks one to deep left center field, headed back toward the wall, and Owings has himself another extra base hit. He pulls it at second base with a leadoff double.
Well, Owings now uses the left center field here, jumping on a first pitch fastball. Turns on it. It's his 15th double of the year.
And his third in this series. A guy who only has 2 home runs this year, but he's come close to a few, including this one.
That's his second. That's his second wall ball.
So Syndergaard in immediate trouble in the 4th. That's the 5th hit he's allowed.
Well, let's see what Drury does here in a 0-0 game. He advances the runner minimum.
Held the swing. 1-0. Drury grounded out to third base his first time up.
Interesting how Walker likes to play on the outfield grass, just off the dirt a little bit. At second base, he comes in. He's just on the borderline.
Into center field. Owings tagging at second.
De Aza makes the catch. The throw comes to third, and Owings slides in safely.
So there's a productive out for Brandon Drury, and the Diamondbacks get a runner to third with 1 out.
Does everything right here. Diaz gets the momentum going forward, but not a chance. The ball hit too deep.
So the Mets are going to bring their infield in a scoreless game.
I guess you have to.
Socrates Brito, the number 7 hitter, hit a comebacker his first time up.
And normally, top of the 4th inning, you'd have the corners in, maybe. What is this?
Well, could have been a safety squeeze, could have just been a bluff. Owings with pretty good speed at third base.
And now he's 0-1 with that nonsense, Gare. With a guy out there throwing 99 miles an hour. Doesn't make sense.
And now it's 0-2. Brito starting just his 11th game for Arizona. We mentioned how many people they have on the sidelines in their outfield. Pollock and Peralta and Tomas. So Brito getting a chance. Chip Hill doesn't look very happy with the philosophy that Socrates Brito is taken in this at bat.
It's like, you know, you guys don't think. Just let me think. Look at the signs.
Here's the 0-2.
And he loops one down the left field line, and that's going to fall for a base hit, and the Diamondbacks take the lead. It hops into the stands for a ground rule double for Socrates Brito. Just kept it fair. Owings comes in with the first run of the game, and it's 1-0 Arizona.
Well, he came with another fastball here. Was it 0-2? And he up and ended him, and he inside outed him. And plan B on your swing, and it worked. Just inside the line by around a foot, 2 feet.
So the Diamondbacks strike first. Their 6th hit of the game and their 3rd double against Syndergaard. And now the number 8 hitter, Tuffy Gosewich, with a runner at second and 1 out. Takes a curveball for a strike. Gosewich lined out to center field his first time up.
Pretty much straight away on the defense.
Jams Gosewich, and he fouls it back 1-2. So again, we're seeing a good but not dominant Noah Syndergaard.
Yes.
And this has really been the pattern for Noah. Hasn't been that he's struggled, it's just been that he hasn't been overwhelming the way he was early in the season.
Hitters make adjustments. It just goes to show you how good Doc was. And by Doc, I mean Dwight Gooden. I don't have to clarify that. But to be 19 years old and come up and do what he did. And that was back in, I'm sorry, Gary. They are paying attention to the runners. And, you know, back in Doc's day, and when that guys didn't strike out like they did today. You know, so Doc was a strikeout pitcher. There we go.
Brito takes off. The throw by Rivera. Not in time, and Brito has a stolen base.
The Walker vacated too quick. He's been hugging that base runner. Watch, he's too far away now. It was just too much.
Second stolen base for Brito, and the 10th of the series now for the Diamondbacks, the most they've ever had in a series. And now the infield has to come in again. 2-2 to Gosewich, and he bounces it foul.
As a pitcher, Gary, when you have, whether it's your second baseman or shortstop, holding a runner tight as Walker was, and Walker pushed back, when he begins to push back, that's when you want to deliver home. And Syndergaard held. Walker pushed back 10, 15 feet, and Brito realized that no one was there.
Gosewich lifts it down the line. Bruce coming quickly. Can't get it. It bounces into the corner. Brito scores. Gosewich around second. He'll head for third. And Tuffy Gosewich has an RBI triple, and the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead.
Wants the ball away. Where is it? Up. Too much plate, went right with it, and it just sliced away from Bruce. No, he.
Back-to-back opposite field extra base hits by the 7 and 8 hitters for Tuffy Gosewich, his first major league triple. And so the Mets now down 2-0. The pitcher Shipley will bat, and again the Mets have to bring the infield in, with Gosewich at third and one out. And Shipley lines one up the middle, a base hit. In to score comes Gosewich, and it's 3-0 Arizona. And Syndergaard is starting to be a little demonstrative on the mound.
Well, he's getting lit here a little bit, and they're on his fastball. All the base hits this inning have been on his fastball.
Well, the reactions, though, appear to be at the fielders not getting to the ball. Look at this.
No, I think he's upset with the base hit there. I agree with you on the ball down the right field line off the bat of Gosewich, but I think he was more frustrated there that he made a pitch right down the pipe.
So 3 runs are in, driven in by the 7, 8, and 9 hitters. And now Segura fouls one off.
Does someone, I know it's not in today's game. Okay, you've got 4 base hits off me on my fastball. You know, here's one under your chin. Pick yourself up on your, get yourself up off the ground. You know, just that's enough. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not hitting anybody like that. And again, Gary, I think that he's just got to pitch more in. You got too many guys leaning out over the plate. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the game hasn't changed.
There goes the runner. The pitcher steals second base without a throw.
Oh my.
And then the ball gets loose. Huge jump by Shipley. Syndergaard never gave him a thought. The second stolen base of the inning for the Diamondbacks, and it's all falling apart for Noah Syndergaard.
Okay, not holding him on. You've got an athletic pitcher and a bad pass back to your pitcher. I can see playing behind the pitcher, but you've got to hold him a little closer. How many stolen bases for the series now, Gary?
It's 11 now.
That's unacceptable.
And now Syndergaard behind 3-1 on Segura, who struck out in his first 2 at-bats. And grounds one to short. Runner trying to advance. They'll let him go. Reynolds throws out Segura for the second out as Shipley takes third.
Well, Shipley should have held there, but
Matt Williams, the third base coach, could have made the play at third. The sheer out at first. He runs well. He's an athlete.
We talked about him being a shortstop early in his college career at the University of Nevada, and certainly has shown that athletic skill in the inning. Now it's Michael Bourne with 2 out and a runner at third. Bourne is already 2 for 2 in this game. Single to center, single to right. So the Diamondbacks have scored 3 runs on 4 hits here in the 4th inning. The runs driven in by the 7, 8, and 9 hitters. And a very frustrated Noah Syndergaard trying to get through this inning. Bourne tops one foul, and it's 0-2.
And it's 72 pitches, Gary, in the not through the 4th inning. He's been hit hard this this inning, and it's been on his fastball. I mean, well, you got a blooper down the left field line off the bat of Brito.
And he strikes out Bourne with a changeup to end the inning. But a damaging inning for Noah Syndergaard as the Diamondbacks played 3. That's down 3-0 in the 4th. Sports writers react to today's Mets Diamondbacks game, plus get a preview of tonight's Jets Jaguars preseason matchup on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, today at 5 only on SNY.
Well,
Syndergaard pondering what just transpired.
8 hits, Gary, over 4 innings.
Well, he got around trouble in the first inning, got out of a second and third jam, worked around a couple of hits in the third, but could not find his way through in the fourth.
He's given up 131 hits this year, now in 133 and a third.
Braden Shipley, who just got his second big league hit, his first big league RBI, and his first big league stolen base in that last half inning. Now has to head back to the mound, working with a 3-0 lead. Neil Walker will lead off for the Mets in the home fourth. Walker has one of the Mets' 2 hits against Shipley so far this afternoon, a single to center in the first. Neil's now 6 for 10 in this series, and while everybody around him struggles, Neil just continues to hit.
So Shipley's got decent stuff. He throws strikes. I don't know. He came into this game, Gary, with 11 walks, per 1 intentional. So let's say 10 walks and 17 in the third. He's had no trouble with his command. He's throwing strikes.
And that was his reputation in the minors as a strike thrower. In AAA this year, just 22 walks in 119 innings. So
he made the Pacific Coast All-Star team.
Jay Bruce on deck, then James Loney for the Mets in the fourth. And Shipley comes inside with the fastball, 2-1.
Yeah, I think you got to pitch Walker in. Walker's just been killing that ball away. Any good hitter you got to pitch in. And they got a shift on Walker. Segura way out in right field, around 15-20 feet.
And Neil pops one up. Owings alone on that left side, going back. Coming in is Drury to slide and make the catch. Nice play. Brandon Drury had a long way to come.
Well, not fleet of foot here, but nice catch. Just went to the backhand the last second there.
So Drury with a nice play. 1 out and nobody on. Now Jay Bruce, who hit a bullet his first time up, but right at the first baseman Goldschmidt, who turned it into an unassisted double play. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs. This report today is brought to you by Fidelis Care. Steve?
Gary, we noticed the other day that before every swing, Jay Bruce extends that back arm, kind of flicks it out before getting set in his stance. What that's about, it's been going on for years, but what it's about with Jay Bruce is that originally he was just doing it to get the sleeve off of his elbow, but then it became just a tick, a thing that became a part of his routine. So that was the origin of it. But he said it's funny, there are often times when he's facing against a new batter or an umpire who hasn't seen him before that they think he's calling time when he does it.
It kind of looks that way, doesn't
yeah.
it? He drills that one down the line, and that's foul.
Definitely a lot of hitters, when they call timeout and their pitcher's holding the ball too long, it's your top hand that you call back for time. Absolutely. Well, Jay really hasn't gotten untracked. And remember, when the Mets traded for him, he was in a slump since the All-Star break. He came over here, what do you have, like a 0 for 18, I think it was. And so he's been kind of muddling his way through here.
Pops this one up. Back goes Owings. And that's the second out. So now 2 out and nobody on. James Loney the batter. Loney flying to left his first time up. So Shipley, after being given the lead, has retired the first 2 hitters in the fourth. And Loney hits one out to center. Bourne is right there, and that retires the side. Let's go 1-2-3 on 9 pitches in the bottom of the fourth inning. 3-0 Arizona after 4. Ford. You'll discover why Ford is the total package. Well, Noah Syndergaard got raked for 3 runs in the 4th inning. Now he has to face 3, 4, and 5 in the Diamondbacks batting order, starting with Paul Goldschmidt, who's had a great series. Goldschmidt 2 for 2 today, a single and a double, 6 for 10 in the 3 games. And takes a first pitch curveball high for ball 1. Jake Lamb on deck, and then Chris Owings for the D-backs, trying to sweep a 3-game series at Citi Field, where the Mets swept them 3 games last year. Syndergaard pitched one of those games last July, and he had a career high 13 strikeouts in that game, one of the best games he pitched in his rookie season.
There you go. Oh, we didn't get the call.
Milwaukee, the home plate umpire. 2-1 to Goldschmidt. Well, with the 2 stolen bases for the Diamondbacks in the 4th, the Mets have now given up an even 100 stolen bases this year, the most in the majors.
Oh,
and another
geez.
pitch that Syndergaard doesn't get.
Tin Cup.
And now it's 3-1.
It's like a 40-foot putt.
Top towards short. Reynolds has it go right under his glove. And Goldschmidt is aboard. And the wheels are coming off of this team right now.
Well, there's several old adages in baseball. Team never looks as bad as it looks when it's playing bad. Never looks as good as it looks when it's playing good. And there's also, when you hit rock bottom, there's only one place to go, and that's up. So, you know, you got to hope that this is still a lot of game left for them to come back.
Here's Jake Lamb, who's 0 for 2. And he checks his swing and fouls it off.
And Lamb has just been really, really struggling.
Had a great first half this year. Was left off the All-Star team rather surprisingly. Then he developed a bit of a wrist problem, went into a slump, but he had begun to hit before this series. But he has not looked in sync in any of these 3 games, going 0 for 11 with 6 strikeouts. That last foul tip caught Rene Rivera, and giving him a moment.
Slump, that's what it's called.
Mets have done a good job of jamming Lamb in this series.
Yes.
Goldschmidt at first and nobody out. And again, Rivera sets up inside. And Lamb lifts another one to shallow left. So the formula's working. Conforto makes the grab for the first out. Science of Baseball brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. More science, less fear. And the science today is math, which is the breakdown of Noah Syndergaard's pitch usage this year.
I like that mix. I could see a little more curveballs. I like the fact that he's predominantly fastball. I'd like to see the location of the fastballs. I'd like to see more in on the right-hand hitters.
Chris Owings takes a slider for a strike. Owings banging one off the wall in left center to get the 3-run 4th inning started for the Diamondbacks. His 3rd double in this series. Now watch Goldschmidt at first base. He's got 14 stolen bases this year. And Syndergaard ahead on Owings 0-2.
I think it's a long year, Gare, and this is the dog days. There's just a little bit off, a little bit of short on his fastball, just a little less crispness on his slider. It's a long year, isn't it?
Well, the problem, of course, is that on a team that is offensively challenged, and there's this little argument that the Mets are right now. This is a team that was built to win with dominant starting pitching, and when the starting pitching is less than dominant, it's a difficult formula.
There's so many factors and that play in, you know, psychologically. You know, gosh, I got to go out here and throw a shutout to win.
There goes Goldschmidt. The throw by Rivera, and Goldschmidt is in safely with the 12th stolen base in this series for the Diamondbacks. The 3rd today.
I don't even think I've seen the St. Louis Cardinals of the 80s do this in a series. He looked back like it might have been a hit and run. No, it couldn't have been with 2 strikes. You can't hit and run with 2 strikes. It's my Tom Hanks line.
And now Goldschmidt dancing off second, drawing Syndergaard's attention. Well, just for reference, 12 stolen bases for the Diamondbacks in these 3 games, and it's not over yet. The most stolen bases the Mets have ever given up in a 3-game span is 14. And that was back in the 70s against the Cardinals and the Pirates. 2 teams that stole a lot of bases back in those days.
Nice
slider to strike him out, and that's the 2nd out of the inning.
Beautiful slider. Just needs to get that back. Find this groove right there. That is as good as it gets.
6 strikeouts for Syndergaard as he gets Owings for the 2nd time. So to your point, you know, if the record for a 3-game span is 14 and the Mets have already given up 12, it means it is bordering on what would have happened if the Mets had faced one of those great stolen base teams.
Correct.
Diamondbacks came into this series with 72 steals for the year, 72 steals in 110 odd games, and they have 12 in a 3-game series. It's not what you'd expect.
Well, the people that lord over the game today think the stolen base is overrated. Not necessary. I disagree.
Well, the theory from the sabermetric community is that if you're going to steal, you have to be successful over 75% of the time.
Yeah, okay, but what about, that's just pure sterile statistics. What about the psychological effect on the defense, on the pitcher, on the catcher? If that cannot be factored in to cold, sterile statistics.
So
I was a little emphatic there. Sorry.
So it's a great point you're making. So what is the psychological impact on a team when another team is running wild against them?
You got Noah Syndergaard that can't find his rhythm. Worried about. Don't tell me he's not worried about the stolen bases, and he's can't just pitch and throw like he wants to at his pace. He's got to come to the belt. They're not prepared to do this. I wish Ronnie was here to say something about this, because Ronnie came up with those Cardinal teams that will steal you blind, and he had to go right from the get-go as a rookie. That had to happen. It didn't bother them. It was part of the game. So I don't know what they're going to have to do about this, because there's not enough teams that do this. There he goes.
Goldschmidt stealing 3rd. No throw by Rivera.
Oh my
Mets
God.
didn't even bother covering that time. Goldschmidt got a walking lead off second, much the way Brito did when he stole 3rd base in the 4th inning.
Well, I think, okay, now on this, I know the fans are booing. There's 2 outs. So I can say okay, because you don't want to sacrifice defense on the infield, but it just really, it's like sticking the thumb in someone's eye.
Right. 3-1 now to Drury. And that's outside ball 4, so Drury draws a walk. And now Syndergaard needs another conversation with Rivera, because now they've got to worry about Drury taking off from first, even though he's not fast at all.
You notice that Kelly Johnson didn't cover 3rd base. Now, I never had to worry about covering a bag with stolen bases because I played first base. They're running away from me. I'm just holding the runner on. So he's playing way deep, and he just says, no, I'm not coming.
Is that Is that on the fly that Kelly decides that because Goldschmidt had such a huge jump they had no chance?
Probably both, and he's playing deep, and you want to cover ground. But as I've said, Gary, I've not seen this so glaring.
Well,
something so glaring, even the day when teams stole bases.
Well, you made the point a moment ago that nobody does this anymore. No teams steal like this anymore. Well, everybody's doing it now against the Mets. Especially with Syndergaard and Matz on the mound. Johnson catches a foul pop-up, and Syndergaard is able to get out of trouble after an error and a walk in the 5th. Halfway through on a hot day at Citi Field, 3-0 Arizona. Noah Syndergaard giving up 3 runs in the 4th inning, and perhaps more glaringly 4 more stolen bases this afternoon. Meanwhile, Braden Shipley has held the Mets at bay for the first 4 innings. Kelly Johnson leads off in the home 5th against Shipley, the rookie making his 4th big league start, and the changeup blown away for ball 1.
Well, it's only 3-0. We're halfway through the game.
Mets are getting the bullpen cranking, so Syndergaard 91 pitches through 5 innings. He might be done.
You know what I feel? It was a laborious 91 pitches.
Well, Jonathan Neese is throwing. Syndergaard is due up 5th in the inning, so perhaps that's why he's up, but could just be that Noah's coming out anyway. We'll see. Now Shipley, who's not walked about it this afternoon, behind on Johnson 3-0 with Conforto and Rivera to follow. Well, you know, you were talking in the last half inning about the psychological toll as Johnson draws a leadoff walk, and you know that has an impact too on Syndergaard. Hot day, laborious pitches, and then all of the impact that the steals have had on him, and we saw some of his emotions when he gave up some hits that we don't ordinarily see from Noah as well.
But also, Gary, you notice on the infield, it is demoralizing for the players that they know they're being embarrassed with this, and it's demoralizing to the team that this is going on. I mean, I've never seen this happen like this before, where they're stealing the pants off of them. Not literally, just a term.
Figurative pants. Conforto took a call, 3rd strike, his first time up. Well, just as a for instance, the Diamondbacks in their previous 14 games before this series had 4 stolen bases. 4 in 14 games. They've got 13 steals in less than 3 games in this series. So they've come in with a game plan knowing that the Mets were vulnerable.
Yes.
Especially when Matz and Syndergaard pitch. And they've taken advantage of that vulnerability. Conforto gets one out to center field. And Bourne easing back.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the Padres do coming in. I don't know what kind of team speed they have.
They've got a big-time base-stealing team. They've now got Travis Jankowski as their leadoff hitter, who stole home last night against Antonio Bastardo. He's got 25 steals in about 40 games. So they can run a lot. You see Syndergaard with the 4 stolen bases today has now given up 36. He and Matz are 1-2 in the league in allowing steals.
And again, I will reiterate, this is a young staff. They stole 3 off Cologne last night also now. So Bart's the veteran.
Well, that was as much on Darno as it was on Cologne. He didn't throw
Bartolo doesn't have a great move to first base, but anyway, but it's a young staff, and this is all learning. It's a learning year for him, and it's it's the school of hard knocks.
Hit toward the hole, base hit for Rivera.
Johnson pulls in at second, so the Mets have their 3rd hit of the afternoon, and they get a runner to second base for the first time. And Matt Reynolds coming up. Reynolds hit a hot shot to short that came up and hit Chris Owings in the chest and went for a base hit. Syndergaard is due up next. As yet, nobody has come out on deck. And now Curtis Granderson does come out of the dugout, so it looks like Syndergaard is done. So Noah will be pulled after 5 innings and 91 pitches. And Reynolds takes a curveball for a strike. So Granderson on deck to pinch hit for Syndergaard. Making friends as he goes.
Gary, can I ask a question? This is purely a fashion question.
Oh, then I've got no answer for you.
The stripe, whatever that red stripe
that comes halfway up the leg.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
What is going on?
Well, look, we talked about this in the first game of the series. I mean, whoever signed off on these horrendous road uniforms for the Diamondbacks can only imagine what they were looking at.
Well, I got an idea. Oh, good curveball. I think they've been in the desert too long, not hydrating.
Well, the Diamondbacks have been in Major League Baseball for less than 20 years, and they've probably had more uniforms than any other franchise over that time.
Oh, cutie. You just think we were once that age. Think about that.
No, we weren't. Maybe you were. 1-2 to Reynolds. And he chases the curveball for strike 3. 5 strikeouts now for Shipley, most he's had in a major league game.
Breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball, and it's been a tough run for Matt Reynolds right now. And this is the right move right here. This is just too much into the game now, where you've got to get back into it somehow.
So Perry will take a shot with Granderson, who's 1 for 9 in this series after going 0 for 5 last night.
You got to hope for what Kelly Johnson did last night, do you not?
Coca-Cola corner. Johnson at second, Rivera at first with 2 down. And Curtis takes a curveball down for ball 1.
Interesting how this inning in particular is the first inning that young Shipley has gone to his breaking ball in trouble. Oop.
And the changeup away, and Gosewich tracks it down before anybody can advance. 2-0.
Well, good pitch to hit right here. You got one strike to maybe look middle in and try to hit it out of the ballpark. Curtis with 19 home runs. 18. You know, it's a good time to look middle in and see if you can't tie the ball game up. If you don't get it, it's away. Just spit on it. Go back to hitting 2-1.
And Granderson goes after a 2-0 changeup.
This is a good pitch right here. 2-0.
Two and 1 to Granderson, and Curtis dribbles one foul. Another changeup.
Another change.
2-2.
How do you identify an off-speed pitch? Because usually off-speed pitches, even at a circle change, they don't have a telltale seam like a circle on a slider. But you identify it with the change of pace, and it's all about balancing. Can you hang back? I don't know if it's hard for me to explain. I was a really, really good off-speed hitter. I didn't mind a split finger unless it was off guys like Gorelts, who threw bullets and was part of a repertoire of breaking balls like that giant staff with Roger Craig.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 to Granderson. And he goes down swinging to end the inning. Wow. Shipley gets out of his first jam of the day with back-to-back strikeouts. And the Mets are held at bay again. John Neese coming on in relief of Noah Syndergaard. Mets down 3-0. My partner's here. We're out in the parking lot.
That's my shoulder.
And having catches with various youngsters. This had to be an incredible thrill for the kids, and I guess you guys look like you were having a good time too.
Yep. And go ahead, Ron.
Well, that youngster right there could really play.
Love watching you guys throw the ball around.
I like to still play catch. I don't want to hit anymore. Everybody wants to get me in a cage. I never liked hitting in the cage. I'll get a bat in my hand and I'll take BP on the field. Guy throwing BP to me, I'll do that. The heck with the pitching up the machine.
Coaches throwing BP.
Yeah, just laying it in
don't
for
want live big league arm.
It's going to take me a little while to get my rhythm.
John Neeson to pitch the 6th inning, and Tuffy Gosewich takes a strike.
It's easy to hit those 64-mile-an-hour fastballs, Gary.
Gosewich picked up his first big league triple in the 4th inning. The Diamondbacks now have 40 triples, which is the most in the major leagues. They play in a ballpark at Chase Field in Phoenix that is very conducive to the triple. Shipley, the pitcher, on deck. Then Gene Segura against Neese, who got a couple of outs last night.
Well, this is what the trade-off was with Bastardo, who really didn't do much here and wasn't a long man. John Neese will at least chew up some middle innings, can pitch in the middle of a ball game and get you to the back end of your bullpen.
Syndergaard went 5 innings, allowed 3 runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 91 pitches for Noah, whose ERA started out the day at 2.64, 6th in the league. It went up to 2.75.
And I just think total disruption with the stolen bases, and you've got 4 stolen bags. I'm not beating a dead horse here. This is a significant reason why the Mets are behind in this game, is the 4 stolen bases in this Wago. And I think Syndergaard never got into rhythm. It was total disruption.
Three-two coming, and Gosewich drives one deep toward the left field corner, and that is gone. Tuffy Gosewich with his 2nd home run of the year to go with his earlier triple. So Neese is greeted rudely, and it's 4-0 Arizona.
Same home run as in the first game that was hit by Brandon Drury. Line drive like that right down the left field line. Cutter flat, didn't get in. Totally turned on it, got the barrel on it.
Well, Gosewich with just his 4th career home run. And now Braden Shipley, 4 runs to the good. He had an RBI single of his own his last time up and stole a base. And Neese gets the curveball on the corner, 0-2.
So if you're playing Stratomatic, Gosewich would probably have a home run, 1-3, 1-3 or 1-4, strike 3 right there on the breaking ball, and probably on the split cards 1-5 home run, 6-20 fly ball. So you roll the 3 dice, you got a 1-3, and then you put the split card up and you got a under 5. Doesn't happen too often.
I feel as though you're speaking Greek. And I don't understand Greek. I was an Apple guy. Very different.
I know you were.
Much simpler game.
They're going to love it at Strato.
Segura fouls it back, and it's 0-2.
Well, you know that it's all the numbers that you got 2 dice, you got 6 columns. So 6, 7, and 8 are the ones you have the most options to combinations to roll. 3, you've only got 1, right? 2 and a 1. So all the guys who have no power, or was all the guys that hit like Dave Kingman, who hit 190 and hit 30 home runs. Those home runs would be 1, 2, 1, 3. You follow me?
I'm trying to. Right at the bag, tough play for Johnson, and Segura beats it out easily. So Gene Segura has his 5th hit in this series, an infield single. If you have no idea what Keith is talking about, he's talking about Stratomatic baseball.
Yes.
Which is a dice game that's been around for decades.
Yes.
Which simulates player performance with cards and dice.
And developed in someone's basement. Hal, who figured it out in from Long Island, right here in New York.
See, now in the computer age, you don't need dice anymore, right?
You can roll the dice automatically.
On the computer.
You can put it on random and just press it and let it roll.
So what's the fun in that?
I'd roll the dice.
It's like slot machines, right? Where you don't pull the arm anymore, you
right.
press the button.
Exactly. I like to roll the dice.
Michael Bourne is 2 for 3 today. And now 3-0 to Bourne. Paul Goldschmidt waiting on deck. Diamondbacks now with 10 hits on the afternoon. And Bourne draws a walk. A 4-pitch walk by Nice. 2 men aboard for the Diamondbacks with Goldschmidt coming up. We check in with the studio. Gary Apple has a game break brought to you by your local Honda dealers.
Nice.
Padres will be here tomorrow night to open a 3-game series. They shut out the Pirates last night behind Edwin Jackson, who's given them a nice pick-me-up since they brought him up. Here's Goldschmidt, who's 2 for 3 in this game. A single, a double, a couple of stolen bases. 6 for 11 in the series. And he bats here with 2 men on. And Nice bounces one to the backstop. And that'll move him along.
Oh boy, you got to walk him now. You got to load the bases.
We got the left-hand hitter Lamb on deck, who struggles against lefties, so that would seem like
a no-brainer.
Must.
Was this a wild pitch, you think? Yeah,
I thought so.
I did too. Boy, Gary, I have been on teams that have gone through stretches like this, and it is demoralizing. And you go home after the game. This game is not over. But it's hard not to take it home with you.
Well, I guess the question is, how do you avoid going down the rabbit hole where you've got a team that struggled offensively all year, has been banking on their pitching to dominate to win games, and that's not really happening other than Jacob deGrom right now. And all of a sudden, you've got this enormous vulnerability, which nobody even talked about going into the season, where teams are running wild against you. How do you avoid getting demoralized with what you're seeing right now?
Well, from a leadership standpoint, you look out there. Bruce is just here. He cannot take the mantle. Walker is your veteran out there. Everyday player that's left.
And it gets by Rivera, and here comes Segura to score.
Oh my word.
5-0 Arizona.
That's a pass ball.
So first a wild pitch, and now a passed ball. And right now
it's ugly.
It is getting uglier by the moment.
This game is hard to figure out. Oh, but getting back to your point, this club is so in need of Cespedes' bat. I'm just sorry. He's one of the most destructive hitters in the National League. Gare, I don't know what to tell you right now. I would be a little bit in despair right now if I was out there in uniform.
Okay, so you started to talk about leadership, and let's go there, because this is a team that had very well-defined leaders last year, right? David Wright, captain of the team, he's not playing.
Right.
He's here for home games, but he's not playing. Michael Kadire was his second in command last year. He's not here anymore. Juan Uribe played a big role after he came over in trade last year as a leadership figure. He's not here anymore. So you've got Neil Walker, who's a first-year player with this team.
Right.
Curtis Granderson, who's a veteran but doesn't really take a leadership role. Jay Bruce, as you said, has been here for a week. So how much is that void felt? Do you think that that can have an impact on the team? Missing all of that. There's ball 4 to Lamb, and now the bases are loaded again. I mean, is that something you can put your finger on as being a reason for a team not being able to get itself out of a tailspin?
What is the pulse of this team right now? I think what's being exacerbated here, Gary, is that they have come home and had this disastrous 3-game series, and as I said, the game is not over, but this has been an embarrassing game, a demoralizing game, a team with 66 losses coming in, and a potential of getting swept at home. You got to come to the park, Gary, and you just got to keep plugging away. I don't have the answers here. I really don't.
Now Chris Owings bats with the bases loaded and 1 out.
I mean, there is a potential to go down the rabbit hole here. There's a real strong potential.
So when you were the captain, if your team was in a situation like this,
we weren't.
Well, but if you were, do you talk to guys individually? Do you get up in front of the team and scream and yell or cajole? What's the role of a leader in a situation like this? Owings hits one out to center. Back goes De Aza, way back to the warning track, and it's over his head. Bourne scores. Goldschmidt scores. Lamb is being waved home. 3-run score and a triple by Chris Owings, and the doors are off this game. The Diamondbacks have an 8-0 lead.
My, oh my. Fastball down the pipe, ripped, and this is Owing again with 2 home runs. It's another wall ball here, his 3rd. He's had a heck of a series here. Nice turn right here at third base, real tight, very well done by Lamb.
Sacrifice fly for Brandon Drury brings in another one. And that makes it 9-0. 6 runs home in the inning for the Diamondbacks.
Ooh.
And now Socrates Brito will be the 9th man up in the inning.
Well, this is going to be a hard one to surmount.
So the question on the table is, what does a leader do? How does a leader on a team like this handle what's going on right now?
I can only look to this and my experiences. I never really realized that I had a leadership role in St. Louis. When I came here, I had that. I took that mantle, and '84 is the only year I can really equate, because we fell apart in August. You remember, we couldn't beat the Cubs. All you got to do is you've got to go out and set an example and be fiery on the bench, and not chew it. Everybody's trying. Lou Brock, when it was the Cardinals were in transition. Oh,
that one goes behind Brito.
Yep.
Curveball from Nice.
Yep. So Lou was the leader of the team. Gibson had retired. Cardinals were in transition. We stunk it up. Lou came to the park every day. Same demeanor, same work ethic, same being helpful. Strike 3 of the inning's over. So, Gary, this is just a disastrous inning here. It's a disastrous series, but there's a lot of games left.
6 runs, 6th inning for the Diamondbacks makes it 9-0. York 8-1-1. Mets have been held to 3 singles this afternoon, while the Diamondbacks have put a pounding on Noah Syndergaard and now Jonathan Neese. The beneficiary of all this, Braden Shipley, will start his 3rd time through the Mets order. Alejandro De Aza leads off in the bottom of the 6th. De Aza has grounded out and struck out 0 for 2. Shipley trying for his 2nd big league win and well on his way with a 9-0 lead. And De Aza takes a changeup down for ball 1. De Aza, Walker, and Bruce as the Mets bat in the bottom of the 6th, in grave danger of being swept in a 3-game series by a Diamondbacks team that came into the series 21 games under 500. Yanked foul by De Aza, a ball and a strike. It's got to be a certain feeling in that visitors dugout. You're playing the defending National League champions. You've had a miserable season, and you come in and do what the Diamondbacks have done these 3 days. De Aza went around for strike 3, and that's the 7th strikeout for Braden Shipley.
But one thing about second division teams, Gary, and teams that are in last place, what makes them dangerous is they're playing for nothing. They got no pressure. They're out of it, and they're not drawing at home. They like it better on the road, and they like going into teams that are good teams, and they get up for the good teams. Then they'll go off and play an Atlanta or a Cincinnati and stink it up. I've been there. I've been there with these bad St. Louis teams.
Walker hits one out to left. Drury drifts back to get it. 2 out. New York 8-1-1, and the New York Mets would like to remind you to call 811 before any digging project to get the buried utility lines marked. It's a free service, and it's the law. Know what's below. Call 811 before you dig. So 2 out and nobody on. Here's Jay Bruce, who's lined into a double play and popped a short 0 for 2. It's got to be an interesting experience for a guy like Jay Bruce, right? He's traded for the first time in his career. He comes from a team that's buried in last place, right. Cincinnati, comes into a pennant race, and for the first couple of weeks that he's here, he's struggling, team's struggling, and can't make the transition much easier when you're you come into that situation, right? I mean, he's got to adjust to a new environment in the first place, and now has to try and figure out what's going on. 2-1 to Bruce. They're the weekend probables. City probables. Logan Verrett will get one more crack at it tomorrow night against Paul Clemens. Jacob deGrom, who's been brilliant lately, against Jared Cozart Saturday. Steven Matz will pitch the Sunday game before the Mets head out on a 10-game road trip. Bruce hits one toward the left field corner. Over comes Drury, and he runs it down to end the inning. Two deep fly balls help out Braden Shipley. He gets through the bottom of the 6th unscathed. Diamondbacks cruising with a 9-0 lead after 6.
Get all the latest news and notes as the Jets get ready for their first preseason matchup against the Jaguars at MetLife Stadium on the JetsBlog.com, part of the SNY.TV blog network.
Changes for the Mets. Ty Kelly will come in and play right field. TJ Rivera is in as well. Kelly Johnson moves to second base, and Rivera is at third. And on to pitch is Josh Edgin.
There's Josh's numbers, just recently called up.
Tuffy Gosewich leading off in the 7th inning. Gosewich led off in the 6th inning, and it is second home run of the year to begin what turned out to be a nightmarish inning for John Neese, who gave up 6 runs on 3 hits and 3 walks in the 6th inning. Edgin making his 3rd appearance since coming back from Tommy John surgery. It's been an uphill struggle for him. Still trying to regain his consistent velocity that he had before the surgery. And he sells a fastball outside 1-2. Josh had become a valued member of the Mets bullpen the second half of the 2014 season, and the Mets were counting on him heavily last year going into spring training, but wound up going down with Tommy John surgery, and it really was what spurred the Mets at the end of the spring last year to make the deal for Jerry Blevins. Remember, Mets picked up both Blevins and Alex Torres late in spring training last year, and it all started with when Edgin went down. Now he's back and hoping to regain his place. And Goswitch fouls it off. Oh, this was up in the Mets bullpen.
He's just getting some work.
Scheduled to pitch Saturday, so he might be available for an inning today. Often when a team's a little shorthanded in the bullpen, they'll have a pitcher whose side session is scheduled wait to throw that side session. And that could be the case with DeGrom. This would be his day for throwing his side, preparatory to starting Saturday. Terry Collins threw a 12-inning game last night, had to strap his bullpen and go heavily on Jerry's Familia. Worked him for 2 innings and 38 pitches last night. Johnson circles in and throws out Goswitch for the first out. Let's check out today's Verizon trivia question. 1988. This date. Gary Carter hit his 300th home run at Wrigley Field and gave it up.
You know, remember how long it took him to get 300?
3 months.
It took him. Was it that long?
Yes.
Oh, we were needling him too. We were all over him. But he got it. I forget.
Braden Shipley, the batter. He's had himself quite an afternoon. 6 scoreless innings on the mound. First big league RBI. First big league stolen base. Shipley today became the 3rd pitcher in the major leagues this year to have a stolen base. Zach Greinke has one. Edwin Jackson has one. And now Braden Shipley has a stolen base. Pops this one up. Johnson out. Bruce in, or Kelly in, and Kelly makes the catch. And that's the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on. Now Gene Segura, who had an infield single in the midst of that 6-run 6th inning. 1 for 4 on the day. So let's see. Kelly is batting 9th.
Right.
Pitchers hitting 3rd.
And Rivera, TJ's 3rd base hitting in Walker's spot too.
Right. Well, we were talking before about leadership and what a leader's role is, and interesting to see Terry Collins there chewing the ear of Curtis Granderson.
Right now, this is the nadir of the season.
So what is that conversation like? What is a manager apt to say to a veteran player at a time like this?
And Granderson only pinch hit in this game, so this is a conversation regarding, hey, you have got to set the example now to the young kids. We've got a lot of players here. They're from AAA. Got a lot of players that are first year here. Players that we've gotten in trade that are veterans, but they're not in the position to lead. Curtis, you have gravitas. Need you to set the example. An example means chin up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and a positive attitude.
Which Curtis has always had.
Right.
He's always been one of those guys who goes out, works hard every day, leads by example. He's never been the rah-rah guy, though, or the guy who, you know, wants to be looked at as the voice in the clubhouse, the way a David Wright would, the way a Michael Kadire did last year.
Well, you look at this ball club. You got, there's David Wright right there. You got Goodell, Robles, Edgin. On the bench, Flores, Darno, Rivera, Kelly. In the lineup, you've got Loney, who's just been here. You have Bruce that's just come here. You got Rivera catching, Reynolds young. These are all young guys that can get swept up in this morass of negativity. You veterans here, you the ones that have the gravitas, you've got to come to the park and set the example. Be positive, work ethic, start talking to the guys. We don't help them out. That's what Lou was so good at. I haven't seen something like this in a while, Gary. I did experience this with some St. Louis teams early in my career when things went bad.
3-2 to Segura. And it's on the inside corner, so Edgin finishes off a 1-2-3, top of the 7th. Stretch time at Citi Field. Mets down 9-0. Like Jamison Tyone, 6 scoreless innings for the Pirates. They lead the Padres. Jose Altuve, maybe front runner for American League MVP, helps the Astros to a 6-3 lead. And tonight the Cardinals are in Chicago. Carlos Martinez and John Lester. You know, you think things are going bad. The Minnesota Twins, right? They're having a terrible season, right? They're 21 games under 500. Last night, they built a 5-0 lead on the Astros in the 3rd inning. And then it rains, and it rains, and it rains, and they wait 2.5 hours, and they finally bang the game, and they lose a 5-0 lead. That's when you know you're going bad.
When it rains, it pours, Gary.
Yes, indeed. Well played. James Loney's 0 for 2. He's flied out twice. Braden Shipley working on a shutout, and Loney shatters his bat as the ball rolls foul. Splinters flying everywhere.
Braden Shipley has been impressive here. In his first start of his major league career, he got ripped, and that was at Milwaukee, where he went 5 1/3, gave up 6 runs on 8 hits. Then he pitched a win against the Dodgers, 6 shutout innings, and then he got a no decision, 6 innings, 2 runs versus Milwaukee. So this is a 3rd straight good start for him. It's an excellent start.
Loney into shallow left center. And Bourne comes in to get it. So Loney flies out for the 3rd straight time. Shipley's only had 2 ground ball outs in this game. First batter he faced, De Aza grounded out in the 1st inning. And Rene Rivera hit a comebacker in the 3rd.
You're right.
Everything else has been either in the air or a strikeout. He's already struck out 7, which is 3 more than he had struck out in any of his prior starts. Kelly Johnson struck out and walked 0 for 1, and he grounds 1 to second. Segura sliding to his right, throws out Johnson, 2 out. SNY's Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. By the way, we've got confirmation from Elias. The 13 stolen bases for the Diamondbacks in this series, the most the Mets have ever allowed in a 3-game series in their 55-year history.
Wow.
So more than the Cardinals in the 80s ever had, more than the Frankie Tavares Pirates ever had.
That's right.
More than the
Omar Marino,
the Ron LaFleur Montreal Expos
That's
ever
right.
had. That's amazing when you think about it.
It
You
is.
consider the era that we're in, a low stolen base era. It's shocking that that would be said in this series. Conforto rolls one down to first. Goldschmidt makes the play, and Shipley keeps rolling. He's got 7 scoreless innings under his belt and a 9-0 lead. The wild card still a factor. There's your Verizon trivia question. We asked you who was the Cubs pitcher who gave up Gary Carter's 300th home run on this date in 1988. It was Al Nipper, better known as a Red Sox pitcher. He was the victim. Michael Bourne leads off in the 8th inning against Josh Edgin, who worked a 1-2-3 7th. Bourne has been on base 3 times in this game, 2 for 3 and a walk. He's scored a run. Quite a day for Braden Shipley. 7 tremendous innings. He's thrown only 78 pitches, but it looks like the Diamondbacks have the bullpen up, and it could be that Shipley's done. He's 78 pitches, working on a shutout.
Hey, they don't want building blocks today.
Zach Godley is up in the bullpen for Arizona. Godley had been in the rotation for Arizona, and they took him out of the rotation so Shipley could stay in. Looks like they made a good choice the way Shipley has pitched today. Edgin ahead on Bourne, 1-2, and he strikes him out with a fastball. Second strikeout for Edgin. Well, we talked about it. Let's see it. Gary Carter's 300th home run on this date in 1988.
of his career. Gary Carter hit a 2-2 pitch, and he has waited since May the 16th, and he just got it.
Told you it was 3 months.
It was a breaking ball. Those pitchers never learn. He was to the point where we were worried about him.
Worried about him mentally or physically?
Not physically. We were just it bothered him, that's for sure, and it was all mental for him not to do it much sooner, and it just kept on snowballing on him, and he finally got it.
3-0 to Goldschmidt, who's got 2 hits and a walk today.
And if I recall, after that 300th home run, he was fine. He had to get it out of the way. We come to the park and we go, Gary, would you just do it today? What? Come on, let's go. What is your problem?
Well, good things come to those who wait.
You know, I got all these
Goldschmidt's on with a walk.
I got all these reporters coming around asking me why. Would you just do it, please?
Nothing players hate more than reporters keeping asking them about somebody else. What about me?
That's right.
Ask me about me.
I'm tired of covering your fanny. Let's go. Do it.
Here's Jake Lamb. Lamb is 0 for 3 and a walk. 0 for 12 in this series. Well, there won't be any more stolen bases. That's the good news.
No, not
a 9-0 game. If there's a stolen base, there'll be a fight. Maybe that's what the Mets need. Haven't seen a good fight in a long time.
All those runs the Nice earned, Gare?
Yes, they are.
Ooh, it's not a good one.
Nice went 1 inning, allowed 6 runs, 3 hits, 3 walks. And it'll kill your ERA for a month. Edgen retired his first 4 batters. Walked Goldschmidt, now 2-0 to Lamb, with Chris Owings on deck. And it's hit hard. Nice scoop by Loney. Gets the out at second. Reynolds with the return. Edgen covering, but not in time.
I think he missed the bag. I'm not sure.
Quite a pickup by Loney to get that forced play started.
This ball was a rip and a beautiful grab by Loney. That's purely reaction.
It was like number 17 used to do it.
Good feed. Let's see if we touched the base. He missed the base because he would have been out. Yep, he had to miss the base, Gare.
And he did. Tried to kick it, but too late.
Here we go. Oh, no question.
Yeah, he knew he'd missed it, so he tried to back toe it, but Lamb had already crossed the bag anyway. So that keeps the inning alive. Lamb at first with 2 out for Owings, who's had another big day, a double and a triple, 3 RBIs. Got 4 extra base hits in this series, and he's got another hit as he dumps one into center field. Lamb going first to third. The throw by Diaz is cut off. So Owings has his 3rd hit of the day. And the Diamondbacks have their 12th.
He has had himself a great series. He uses a gap-to-gap hitter. He likes that right center field. Got to pound him in.
Terry Collins going to make a change or 2. So Edgen was able to get 5 outs, but he'll exit at this point after throwing 32 pitches, and Jerry Blevins will come in to try and get the final out of the inning. 9-0 Arizona. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Come on back. We got lots more for you. Flores comes in to play second base. He'll bat third. Kelly Johnson moves from second base to left field, his third position of the day. And Jerry Blevins comes in to try and get the final out of the inning. That's Matt Reynolds. Jerry Blevins wears number 39. There he is. Ball one to Brandon Drury.
Jerry took the loss last night. Gave up the home run to Oscar Hernandez, his first major league home run. That was the game difference in the game. A 3-2 loss last night in extra innings.
Drury had a sacrifice fly in the 6-run sixth for the Diamondbacks. And takes it long away. 2-0. Pulling Edgin here, I think, was just a matter of they don't want Edgin to throw that many pitches. Coming back from Tommy John surgery, just his third appearance.
Right, and it's 9-0.
Otherwise, you wouldn't want to waste another pitcher in this spot. And Blevins throws a strike, 2-1. Edgin looked, I thought he looked better in this outing than he had in his prior ones. A couple of strikeouts over an inning and 2/3, a lot of hit and a walk. Mets have used all three of their lefties out of the bullpen today. Blevins misses away, 3-1. Socrates Brito, left-hand batter, on deck. And Drury grounds one in the hole. Reynolds will go the short way, gets the force to end the inning. So Blevins comes in to strand a pair, stays 9-0 going to the bottom of the 8th. Today's starting pitchers. Braden Shipley, best outing of his young big league career, 7 scoreless innings. Noah Syndergaard not so fortunate, had the one bad inning in the 4th and left on the hook in this game. And now it's a much bigger hook. Down 9-0 as Zach Godley comes out of the bullpen for the D-backs.
Well, he'll make his first appearance of this series, and his numbers aren't horribly impressive. As Gary said, he was a starter, pushed into the bullpen.
6 starts. This will be his 6th relief outing. They'll take on Rene Rivera leading off in the home 8th. Rivera has one of the Mets' 3 hits today. Grounded a single through the hole into left in the 5th. And he takes a strike from Godley. No, Shipley, 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts. Certainly was impressive enough. And in line for his second big league win. 1-1 to Rivera with Matt Reynolds on deck. Well, tomorrow night the Padres come to town. Mets saw the Padres early in the season, and it's a very different San Diego team now. I mean, think about all the folks that they have traded away since the Mets saw them. 4/5 of their starting rotation. They traded Drew Pomeranz, Andrew Cashner, James Shields. They traded their closer Fernando Rodney. They traded Melvin Upton Jr. They traded Matt Kemp. All gone from when the Mets saw the Padres last. Coverage tomorrow at 6 o'clock for the opening game of the series. So they've been playing 5 or 6 rookies every day. And there have been a few who have been impressive. Most importantly, Travis Jankowski, who's been at the top of the batting order and has provided them with a lot of speed.
Well, I thought they got rid of a lot of everyday veteran dead weight, to be honest with you, Gary. Well, pitching, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, but really the only 2 players who are left who have been playing all year for them are the catcher Derek Norris, who's now being pushed into a reserve role, and Will Myers, who's had a pretty good year for them. That's what Jankowski has done the last 9 games, including the steal of home against Antonio Bastardo. He took off on the return throw from the catcher, and because Bastardo turns his back. And yeah, it's the 4th time, by the way, the Padres have had a straight steal of home this year.
There's those darn stolen bases. They don't mean anything anymore.
Well, it's going to be a big deal in the series coming up because, you know, unlike the Diamondbacks, who had to adjust their game to run wild in this game, in this series, the Padres do that on an everyday basis. So it's something the Mets have to be prepared for. Rivera hits it hard, nice. But Lamb able to make the connection and throws him out one away.
Stayed right in front of that one.
So here's Matt Reynolds is 1 for 2. So the Padres are playing guys like Ryan Schimpf and Alex Dickerson and Jabari Blash.
I'm going to have to come very early tomorrow.
Brandon Maurer is now closing games for them.
Because tonight, Garrett, it's a rare day game during the week. It's a very rare day game period at home. So we day games the Mets schedule on Sunday. I'm going to have a nice dinner with all the other people tonight. I've already got my reservation set up.
Well, here's the question. After a late night game last night, it was late because there was a rain delay at the start, right. A 4-hour 12-inning game, didn't end until after 11:30.
Right.
You had to get back home, and then you had to get up early and come to the ballpark today, doing all the preparation that you do for a game. Are you going to be able to stay awake through dinner?
Oh, that's a good question. I got a couple tricks up my sleeve. Trust me.
Now, are those still legal?
I'll be in very good company.
That certainly helps. And a check swing tapper back to the mound by Reynolds. And Godley makes the play for the second out. I mean, I always find that after the day game following the night game, particularly with the short turnaround, I've got a lot of adrenaline.
Right.
And then I get home and I sit down and I'm out like a light.
That's because a game like last night, you drink a lot of coffee.
I do.
So, you know, you don't sleep well. I stayed in the city last night. I wasn't going to drive home. So I got in the hotel at a decent hour, but I tossed and turned all night.
Now, I slept great last night. I just didn't sleep for very long. Probably slept, you know, 4.5 hours, and then I was up getting ready for today's game.
So I'm assuming that you're going to be having dinner with Lynn, and you guess what?
If I don't fall asleep in my soup.
You're going to have to buck up and rally.
Well, we'll see. Ty Kelly swings and misses. Nothing in 2. Kelly got a start in left field last night, went 1 for 3, his first at bat today. Last 10 Mets have been retired since the base hit by Rene Rivera in the 5th inning. He It was in the top of the 6th that the Diamondbacks broke this game open, and the Mets haven't had a hit since, and they won't have one now as Kelly flies out to Drury. And so Zach Godley has himself a 1-2-3 inning as he sprints off to the dugout. We go to the 9th, 9-0 Arizona.
We got guys.
All right, gentlemen, Socrates Brito leads off the top of the 9th. Jerry Blevins came on to get the final out in the 8th, stays on for the 9th to face Brito, who's 1 for 3, an RBI double in the 4th inning that drove in the first run of the game. Syndergaard was ahead of Brito 0-2, and Brito dumped a double down the left field line to bring in the game's first run, and the Diamondbacks were off and running. They got 3 in that 4th inning and 6 off John Neese in the 6th inning. And Brito takes one off the thumbs and fouls it off. How did he make contact with that ball?
Tied him up inside.
The last time the Arizona Diamondbacks swept a series in New York of at least 3 games, Dominic Leone up in the bullpen. The last time that happened, that the Diamondbacks came to Flushing and swept a series of at least 3 games, SNY did not exist. It was 2002. Citi Field didn't exist. It's 14 years ago. Good curveball by Blevins to strike out Brito, 1 away. Now Tuffy Gozawish, who's had himself quite a day, his first major league triple, and then his 2nd home run of the season. So Gozawish getting a chance to play with Wellington Castillo away on paternity leave, and he's taken advantage of it. Also Robles up in the Mets bullpen. Robles, who had himself a very rough night in the opening game of this series. Sure if he's warming up to come in or just warming up. 0-2 to Gozawish. We saw Jacob deGrom up in the bullpen earlier, getting his side session in.
bit surprised that Robles is up.
Oh, and 2 to go Swish, and he lifts one behind third base. Rivera gives way to Reynolds, giving way to the railing, and it's out of play. Diamondbacks go from here to Boston for a weekend series with the Red Sox. And then they'll go back home and entertain the Mets starting on Monday night in Phoenix. Mets started out this stretch Tuesday night. 9 straight games against the bottom 2 teams in the National League West. The 6 against Arizona and the 3 in between against San Diego, figuring that it was time to make some hay. No hay yet. Fastball inside, 1-2. And the thing is, when they get done with this stretch, then they go to San Francisco, play a 4-game series with the Giants, who are in first place in the West, and then 3 in St. Louis to play the Cardinals, who are right in the heart of the wild card race. Lifted to right, and Kelly is there. 2 out. And then after that, the Mets come home and play in division Phillies, Marlins, Nationals, and that takes you up to Labor Day.
And we'll know a lot by then.
So this is the softer part of the schedule. Philip Gosselin up for the first time, came in on a double switch in the last inning. Gosselin's appeared in all 3 games of the series. 0 for 1 on a walk. And he rolls one out to Reynolds. And that retires the side. So Blevins sets him down 1-2-3 in the top of the 9th. We go to the bottom of the 9th, 9-0 Arizona. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by New York 811. Be sure you call 811 before you start any digging project, big or small. Make the 811 call. The Kia Top Quality Sales Event. Visit TriStateKiaDealers.com to learn more. By Cholula, uncap real flavor of your favorite foods with the delicious taste of Cholula hot sauce. Try all 5 unique flavors, including green pepper.
By Tri-Honda. Hurry to your local Tri-Honda dealer for great deals on 2016 models. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Dominic Leone will pitch the 9th inning for Arizona. Leone from Norwich, Connecticut, played at the same high school that produced the Mets' Eric Campbell.
Not to be confused with Sergio Leone.
He of the Spaghetti Western.
Well, made Clint Eastwood a star.
Alejandro De Aza leads off the last of the 9th, and he pulls one into right field for a base hit. 11 straight Mets had been retired before De Aza leads off the last of the 9th with a hit.
Can't give away those last at bats in games like this.
Now T.J. Rivera will get his first at bat of the game. Rivera made his major league debut last night, went 1 for 5, got his first major league hit in the 10th inning of last night's game. T.J. Rivera from the Bronx against Dominic Leone from Connecticut.
Was leading the Pacific Coast League in hitting with a .349 average.
Pride of Lehman High School in the Bronx. Troy University in Alabama. Undrafted free agent who's made it to the big leagues. Ball and a strike to Rivera. Mets have been shut out 8 times this year, but not since June the 28th, last time they were shut out by the Nationals. Mets were on the verge of being shut out last night before Kelly Johnson's 2-run homer tied the game in the 9th. It would take a lot more than that to tie the game today.
It's been done, but it's obviously quite rare.
Down 9 in the 9th?
I don't know.
Has it ever
been done? I don't know.
I know the biggest deficit ever overcome to win is 12. But I don't
not
know.
in the 9th.
I don't know about 9 in the 9th.
I wonder what that would be. That would be incredible.
Toward the middle of the diamond, sliding backhand stop Goslin, and Rivera beats it. And he's got an infield hit. Nice play by Goslin to make that play even close. But T.J. Rivera beats it out for his second big league hit.
He went over the shortstop side of second base.
Well, the Mets need 6 more base runners to get the tying run to the plate. Homer Flores, the batter, batting for the first time after coming in a double switch. Homer started last night at first base, went 0 for 4. And Leone misses outside. It's been a struggle for Leone. When Leone first came up with Seattle, we saw him his rookie season back in 2014 with the Mariners, and he was terrific. But he really has never been able to back that up. And his numbers this year have been pretty ugly since joining the Diamondbacks. Coming up tonight at 10:30, it's Geico Sports Night. The Jets open the preseason. A-Rod will be in the lineup for the Yankees. And the Gelb's book has an appendix. Wow.
Maybe an afterword.
I hope the appendix goes at a good pace, because otherwise you're defeating the purpose. You wouldn't want it to drag.
You don't want a bad appendix.
You'd have to take that out.
It's horrible surgery. You would know.
Piece of cake. Wilmer lofts one into right. And Brito is there to grab it for the first out.
I remember when they carted you out of here on a stretcher. Not here. Shea.
No, Shea Stadium, 2006.
So there goes Gary.
Later that day, Lastings Miller hit a home run and high-fived the fans. Remember that?
Yes. I thought maybe you got a little.
Same day.
I was worried that maybe you got a little sassy with Lynn. She let you have it.
Can't imagine that ever happened.
I can't either.
Here's Loney, who's 0 for 3.
He's such a nice guy.
Could be a double play. Goslin with the flip, Owings with the turn, and the Diamondbacks, for the first time since 2002, have swept a 3-game series in Queens as they demolished the Mets this afternoon 9-0.
Well, hopefully this is the nadir of the season. The Mets are shut out. There's not a whole lot to say that's good about this. A very laborious effort by Syndergaard. 5 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs. The Diamondbacks stole the Mets blind again on the bases. 4 stolen bases, 12 hits, big bases loaded double by Owings that broke the game open. They got to regroup.
And for the first time since they began the year 7-7, the Mets are a 500 team for the season. 57 and 57 for the year. Game summary presented by New York 811. Braden Shipley with the 7 scoreless innings today, and the Diamondbacks win it 9-0 to sweep the series. More coming up.